E é aqui que entramos mais num mundo pós-apocalíptico, um pouco mais ligado também a uma epidemia que aconteceu há alguns por todo o mundo. Mais ou menos nesta zona, como podem ver, já foi um pouco afetada por esse acontecimento. Vamos descobrir um pouco mais sobre a história de Days Gone e perceber exatamente o que é que aconteceu e quem é a nossa personagem principal, o Deacon. Vamos conhecê-lo já de seguida.
Days Gone is, for us, for Ben Studio, it was it's definitely a project of passion, right? It's like we had an opportunity to create a new IP, and we started brainstorming these ideas and doing sort of that research and sort of creative research to find, okay, what's going to resonate? What's something we want to play?
So Days Gone is an open-world action-adventure survival game. It's about a guy named Deacon St. John who's a former motorcycle club member. He's a biker. That's what helped him survive and stay alive when the apocalypse happened. When traffic jams were clogging up the roads, he was able to split lanes, kind of drive through cars and go off-road, and it just allowed him to survive. And then the game picks up 2 years later when, he's lost a lot of people. He's survived 2 years in the apocalypse with one friend, and he's kind of caught between his old way of life and what the world is demanding of him now. He's actually got to become a functional member of society. He's got to fit in. He's got to work for them. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. He does jobs for them. They reward him with better weapons and ammo and supplies. So it's about the apocalypse and all that, but it really is about a character being forced to change. And it's really interesting for us to be able to watch that journey and go along with him on it.
Could have saved a few lives.
We've got the sensibility of an idea here. Where are we going to set this thing at? And that was the next big question. What is the setting of Days Gone? And that's when we sort of literally looked out our office window and said, well, what about Bend? What about Central Oregon? Because you literally can go 20 minutes in one direction and be in deep, lush green forest, 20 minutes in the opposite direction and you're in these volcanic, high desert terrain, and then on top of that you got the weather, right? And we all know what the weather's like here because we've lived here, and that adds to it. It adds a certain amount of danger to the world that you wouldn't necessarily expect, right? Because literally you can, in Bend, in Central Oregon, it could be the middle of summer and have a snowstorm come through, or you'll get all 4 seasons in one day.
It's a world that's super dangerous. That's one of the reasons why we set it in a post-apocalypse. It's like a pandemic has come through and it's not just killed the world but transformed it, because the virus has mutated and has infected millions and millions of people and turned them into these feral cannibalistic creatures that are just trying to eat you all the time. So, but it also affects animals. So it's like when you're in the world of Days Gone, you're in the Farewell Wilderness, which is set in the high desert of the Pacific Northwest. Beautiful, beautiful backdrop. For this sort of brutal experience of trying to fight to survive. So that's sort of the high level background of what the game is. You're on a bike and you're shooting and you can use stealth and you're doing these sort of traditional things that you kind of expect in an open world game. But the fact that we focus on the bike as a means of survival, you get one bike and you have to keep it with you at all times because that's where you save your progress on the game, and it's what's going to allow you to get away from the horde if you run into one. And it's it's really a different experience than a lot of other open world games. And then for me the most important thing is the characters. So you're like, so it's like Ben Studio has always done narrative-driven third-person action games, and the third person is what I think is the key there, because it's always about a character, and this character has something he's trying to achieve, and he's involved in a big story. And for me, that's how I get involved in games, is through characters that have an emotional human story that sort of pulls me along, and that's what we're trying to do with Deacon St. John.
The edge that you need to survive, allowing you to really focus in on a target and take the shot.
When you're out in the open world, obviously you're going to be needing to gather resources, to maintain your bike or, to be able to travel around. the world is constantly coming for you, you know, and so you don't want to leave your bike behind too far. You know, you don't want to stray off into the woods for too long, because you run the risk of getting attacked. You know, you're going to want to constantly be keeping an eye on your resources, you know, visiting encampments to stock up on stuff. The player's always out there trying to, you know, find new things to do, new encounters, but you're going to constantly be wanting to keep an eye on, you know, your resources and everything that, you know, maintains Deacon and his motorcycle.
I would say the biggest challenge for the bike was getting the drifting to feel the way we wanted it to feel. We looked at a lot of different car racing games for a lot of our inspiration, and we wanted to be able to get the motorcycle to slide through corners like you would expect a car to be able to do, but motorcycles can't really do that in the same way. And so we had to do a lot of work on the back-end physics systems to get it to slide the way we wanted it to, even though motorcycles can't actually do that.
Number 3, race. We've got a ton of different systems at play in the open world, including like the time of day and the weather. We've got all of this, you know, population out there, freakers and animals and humans. We've got these dynamic encounters that can happen where, you know, you'll be driving through the world and you might get ambushed off your bike. Bringing all those things together was quite the task, because you've got things coming from all over the place, and we spent a lot of time trying to fine-tune that and make sure that everything is balanced, but at the same time, you know, dangerous for the player.
We love everything that we're doing, and I think that kind of becomes infectious in itself, right? Because people want to just do really awesome work, and we want to build that kind of environment here at Ben Studio to allow people, no matter where they're coming from, what corner of the globe they're coming from, or what part of the industry they're from, we have something.
And you know, when you're writing story for an open world game, you have these narrative experiences where I have complete control. Like, you know, when I send you on a mission with Deacon and Boozer and they're heading someplace, there's, you know, we turn the horde off. The horde's not going to come in to that mission space and, you know, and mess up everything that is planned, because we want I think the best open world games have a combination of dynamic systems-based gameplay and then a narrative experience that makes you sort of grow and learn more about the characters and really care about them. So it's got to do both, and the way to keep those two things consistent is by having the rules of the world be the same for both and the tone be the same. And that's where I think we really, I hope at least, that we succeeded.
Are the most common. Their name comes from their behavior. They travel in groups of 2 or 3.
I really expect players to love it and to generate a lot of really cool content that shows us all of the emergent systems coming together and generating these really cool results that even we haven't encountered in our playthroughs. And I like to think that we should say, yeah, that's how it should work. You know, this predictable unpredictability that comes from systems and emergence. I just really think that they're gonna surprise themselves, they're gonna surprise us, but they're just constantly gonna be excited about how their experience is slightly different than the last, or slightly different than their friends, and just how cool it is, and how they've made it their own.